Washington, D.C., we're joined by Hugh Kaufman, a Senior Policy Analyst at the EPA's Office of Solid Waste and Emergency Response. He's been a leading critic of the decision to use COREXIT. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Let's begin with Hugh Kaufman. First of all, explain what COREXIT is, the company that makes it, what's in it, and your concerns.
Well, COREXIT is one of a number of dispersants that are toxic, that are used to atomize the oil and force it down the water column so that it's invisible to the eye. In this case, these dispersants were used in massive quantities, almost 2 million gallons so far, to hide the magnitude of the spill and save BP money. And the government, both EPA, NOAA, etc., have been sock puppets for BP in this cover-up. Now, by hiding the amount of spill, BP is saving hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in fines. And so from day one, there was tremendous economic incentive to use these dispersants to hide the magnitude of the gusher that's been going on for almost 3 months. Congressman Markey and Nadler, as well as Senator Mikulski, have been heroes in this respect. Congressman Markey made the BP and government put a camera down there to show the public the gusher. And when they did that, experts saw that the amount of material, oil, being released is orders of magnitudes greater than what BP and NOAA and EPA were saying. And the cover-up started to evaporate. But the use of dispersants has not. Consequently, we have people, wildlife, we have dolphins that are hemorrhaging, people who work near it are hemorrhaging internally, and that's what dispersants are supposed to do. EPA now is taking the position that they really don't know how dangerous it is, even though if you read the label, it tells you how dangerous it is. And for example, in the Exxon Valdez case, people who work with dispersants, most of them are dead now. The average death age is around 50. It's very dangerous, and it's an economic protector of BP, not an environmental protector of the public. Now, the one thing that I did want to mention to you, Amy, that's occurred in most investigations, back even in the Watergate days, people said, follow the money. And that's correct. In this case, you've got to follow the money. Who saves money by using these toxic dispersants? Well, it's BP. But then the next question, I've only seen one article that describes it, who owns BP? And I think when you look and see who owns BP, you find that it's the majority ownership, 1 billion shares, is a company called BlackRock that was created, owned, and run by a gentleman named Larry Fink. And the Vanity Fair just did recently an article about Mr. Fink and his connections with Mr. Geithner, Mr. Summers, and others in the administration. So I think what's needed, we now know that there's a cover-up. Dispersants are being used. Congress, at least 3 Congress folks, Congressman Markey, Congressman Nadler, and Senator Mikulski are on the case. And I think the media now has to follow the money, just as they did in Watergate, and tell the American people who's getting money for poisoning the millions of people in the Gulf.
We're talking to Hugh Kaufman, who works at the Environmental Protection Agency. This is an issue we've brought up before, but it's an absolutely critical one. The issue of proprietary information of these companies, in particular the ingredients of COREXIT, even though 1.8 million pounds of it have been dumped into the Gulf. What's in COREXIT? Do you know? What is EPA allowed to know, and what is the company allowed to keep private?
EPA has all the information on what's the ingredients are. The largest ingredient in COREXIT is oil. but there are other materials, and when the ingredients are mixed with oil, the combination of COREXIT or any dispersant and oil is more toxic than the oil itself. But EPA has all that information. That's a red herring issue being raised, that we have to somehow know more information. When you look at the label and you look at the toxicity sheets that come with it, the public knows enough to know that it's very dangerous. The National Academy of Science has done work on it. Toxicologists from Exxon that developed it have published on it. So we know enough to know that it's very dangerous, and to say that we just have to know more about it is a red herring issue. We know plenty. It's very dangerous, and in fact, Congressman Nadler and Senator Lautenberg are working on legislation to ban it.
And I should correct myself, 1.8 million gallons, I think it is, of COREXIT that's been dumped, Sheree.
And that's correct. Kaufman, almost 2 million gallons of... Yes, sir.
So the...
I'm sorry, I'm not...
No, go ahead. The dispersant is... these nearly 2 million gallons have been dispersed not only on the surface of the water, but also 5,000 feet below the water as well. Can you talk about that?
Well, not only do you have airplanes flying and dropping them on the Gulf region like Agent Orange in Vietnam, but a large amount of it is being shot into the water column at 5,000 feet to disperse the oil as it gushers out. And so you have spread, according to the Associated Press, over perhaps 44,000 square miles, an oil and dispersant mix. And what's happened is that makes it impossible to skim the oil out of the water. One of the things that happened is they brought this big boat whale in from Japan to get rid of the oil, and it didn't work because the majority of the oil is spread throughout the water column over thousands of square miles in the Gulf. And so and there's been a lot of work to show that dispersants, which is true, make it more difficult to clean up the mess than if you didn't use them. The sole purpose in the Gulf for dispersants is to keep a cover-up going for BP to try to hide the volume of oil that has been released and save them hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars of fines. That's the purpose of using the dispersants, not to protect the public health or environment, quite the opposite.
You've made comparisons between COREXIT, the use of COREXIT, and hiding BP's liability, and what happened at Ground Zero after the attacks of September 11th, Hugh Kaufman.
Yeah, I was one of the people who, well, I did the Ombudsman investigation on Ground Zero, where EPA made false statements about the safety of the air, which has since, of course, been proven to be false. Consequently, you have the heroes, the workers there. A large percentage of them are sick right now, not even 10 years later, and most of them will die early because of respiratory problems, cancer, etc., because of EPA's false statements. And you've got the same thing going on in the Gulf. EPA administrators saying the same thing, that the air is safe and the water is safe, and the administrator misled Senator Mikulski on that issue in the hearings you talked about. And basically the problem is dispersants mixed with oil and air pollution. EPA, like in 9/11, I did that investigation 9 years ago, was not doing adequate and proper testing. Same thing with OSHA, with the workers. They're using mostly BP's contractor, and BP's contractor for doing air testing is the company that's used by companies to prove they don't have a problem. If you remember the wallboard pollution problem from China, the wallboard from China, this company does that environmental monitoring. It's a massive cover-up, and so far, luckily, we have 2 members of Congress and 1 member of the Senate on the case. Hopefully more will join in.
Well, let's go.